Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try and speak slowly while going really fast. If I speak too fast, tell me to slow down a little bit. I get excited. I get excited about security stuff. Uh, and today I'm talking about updates and supply chains and all that good stuff. But really, what I'm talking about is automatic updates. Now, just put your hands up. How many people here let WordPress automatically update? One person. Two, three. Don't be. Oh, good. More hands are going up as you start to realize it's a good thing. It's okay. So you've probably at some point had a statement that says, just turn on automatic updates, you'll be fine. Somebody on the internet will have told you this. And I'm going to tell you now, we're just going to shortcut this entire talk. They're right. For most of you, you could go into WordPress, you can go and enable automatic updates, and they will just go fine. Everything will be fine. In 2015, I worked for a hosting company. We forced every single person onto automatic updates. There was a little bit of a backlash. Some people were grumpy with us. We said, leave it for 3 months, and if it doesn't work as an idea, we'll change our minds. The failure rate for those updates where there was a critical error was 0.0005%. By critical error, that was something that had a fatal error or had some other sort of thing that was stopped the site functioning in some major way. That didn't mean that there weren't bugs, features, and other things happening. It just meant that their site was still up after the update. And everybody went, huh? When we do updates, they break all the time. And we went, yes, that's because it's you. You are the problem. So if you do not have confidence in automatic updates, it's not the code, it's you. We also have to deal with the fact that vulnerabilities are now being exploited quicker. When I started talking about security, we were talking about if somebody found a vulnerability in something, we'd start to see on our networks exploitation in weeks. So some major vulnerability happens in a really popular plugin, about 3-4 weeks. We'd be like, oh, we're starting to see this happening. You must update. 5 years ago, days. Now we're talking hours. If it's a popular plugin and it has a vulnerability in it, the second that is announced, that's it. And then we have a bunch of people just finding vulnerabilities constantly and publishing them on the internet. Meaning that we are constantly in this flow where if you have a site, it has plugins, the chances are you can be exploited very, very quickly. So we do need to come with a way of automating. We cannot now sit in a scenario where we're like, okay, we update once a month. Actually, out of curiosity, how many people have a day that they update? How many people update monthly? Weekly? Yearly? Sorry, my mistake. What I should have started with is, everybody here knows that updates exist, right? Okay. So how many people update daily? Okay. And now, interestingly, some of the people who put those hands up don't do automatic updates, which means someone sits there and goes like this every day. So I'm going to tell you, you need to just turn on automatic updates if you're doing it daily. But I am technically the person who's just told you, just turn on automatic updates, you'll be fine. Which obviously, because I've told you that, that's literally the end of this talk. Goodbye. So my name's Tim Nash. It's been great talking to you. We've got 15 minutes left. I guess there might be a but then. So updating is a double-edged sword. You've got, on the one hand, security vulnerabilities, which are scary, and we've talked about, and they're the thing they're like the stick that I want to beat you with because you have to update. But they also fix stuff. Developers on the whole don't just push updates for the sake of it. Might feel like it from time to time, but they don't do it for the sake of it. They're fixing performance issues, they're fixing bugs and all those little niggles you've had. But updates obviously also introduce new bugs. There are compatibility issues, and let's face it, sometimes things can be bad and there's malicious code in there. So then we have the question, should we update? No, because we live in a very bad scenario where we have no choice. People keep telling us that we've got security vulnerabilities. Do you know how many people, when they have an update, just a show of hands, do you read the change log of every update that you willingly update? One person, two people. And you check to see if the word security's in there, don't you, before you press the button? Yeah? Except if most security vulnerabilities that are patched, they don't reference that in there. It's under miscellaneous bugs or just not mentioned at all. You only find out like down the line. So you can't rely on a changelog. So that means you must be reading the code. Does everybody read every line of code of every update? Hang on. Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Anybody? Cool. So you're relying on your testing, hopefully. Hopefully, maybe. Otherwise, what are you doing? If we're reading the README, we know the README. We cannot trust the README. People lie. We therefore have to rely on something that we're doing. Otherwise, we might as well have just automatically done it. So should we update? Of course, the answer is yes. And critical errors are really rare. Honestly, they are really, really rare. We're getting quite good at this now. We've been doing it a while. Most plugin developers realize it's really bad for their mental health if they release something that's going to break people's sites because people yell. So they at least the plugin developers, for most of the time, try their very best to not have major errors. So really then the question becomes, how do we update safely? And you already update safely because you've never had a bug or an issue when you've updated a website, ever. Of course not. So how do we update safely? Well, we do it the same way we always have done it. And I'm sure your process looks exactly like this. You set up a staging site, some sort of system, and you test. Why are you all looking at me like that? You test. Then you deploy it on your live site, and you go, yes, it's working. And then you monitor it for a little bit of time to make sure it's working. That monitoring can be in the form of a client waiting to see if they email saying something's broken. But there's monitoring involved. And if we automate this process, we can automate each one of these steps. You don't even have to automate it all in one go. We could start by automating testing. Then we could automate the deployment. Then we could automate the monitoring. And then we can go play golf. I definitely look like the sort of person who goes to play golf. You do test. How many people here test after every update they do? Oh, thank God. You all look so scared. I was a bit worried you didn't. Now, I'm just going out on a limb and thinking that you all have like this idea of what you test for. And there's certain sites, if you deal with clients, you test a little bit more than the others. There's that client who notices the pixel difference on one page that you don't care about at all. But then from other sites, your testing is you go to the website and go, oh, look, it's up. That's great. That will do. So here's a fun exercise for your team. Honestly, it's totally fun. They'll love it. You will be the most popular person. First thing you do is you somehow sell this as a fun exercise, so they're all very cheerful and happy about it. And you go, before you do any updates, I want you to do the following. I want you to write down what you're going to test. I want you to write down how you test things. Then you say, that's brilliant, thank you for that, it's so wonderful. You then don't mention it for a week. You take the documents and you hide them from them. And you don't mention it for a week. A week later, you say, oh, while you're doing the updates, would you mind if you just record your screen? Oh, yeah, of course I will. Then what you do is you compare what they wrote they claim to test and what they actually test. Now, it's not because they were lying. It's because humans, we tend to just miss things. We just skip stuff. We don't, in our heads, realize how much we actually do. So we don't give ourselves enough credit. And once you look at these two things, you compare them, and then you rewrite the first document and say, this is what we actually test for. These are the things when we do our tests, this is what we test for. And then you go, oh, this looks really complicated and messy, so we need to standardize it. we can systemize this a bit. So we can write something that is like this. This is a really simplified way of things. And we can say, okay, given I do this, then I do this, when I do this, then I do this, and I might have some extra step stuff. So, given I send a request to the homepage, so I go to the website, then I expect there to be a 200. When I open the homepage in the browser, the page loads, and I should see company name in the footer. That's a pretty good test for if the website's up, functioning, and working. I reckon that's about as much testing as most of the people in this room do. You don't have to admit to it, but I think I have just summed up your testing strategy. But you can do this for various bits. You can write ones for checkout flows, for whether you... It might be worth also logging into the admin area. That's the sort of place the client might visit. You go through those, you put those testing in place. Cool. Now we've got a bunch of documents we've standardized. We repeat this process over and over again. We force the following tests until and every time that you do it, somebody on the team is going to say, goes and does something else. You go, no, you follow this testing pattern. You will hate it. You will get angry with me. You will not like me. And then they will get lazy. They'll start avoiding you. They'll start hiding the fact that they're not doing these tests. It will hurt them and it will be painful. And then when you say, do you not like doing this? They go, I hate this. This is not how I want to test. You're like, you want to test? Yeah. You want to automate it? Oh, yeah, please let us automate it. And then you automate it. This is a Playwright test. How many people use Playwright for development and do unit and functional stuff? Hello, you might have noticed the previous one was a Gherkin file. Shock. Now we have a Playwright test. Like, oh, this is fun. We can use these in all sorts of places. So hopefully you had this test already. This test already existed. The developers had it. They just didn't never put it connected with the idea that, oh, we could run our dev tests as part of our automation process for our updates. And if you are not writing tests as devs, now, because maybe your boss says we don't have budget for testing and doing unit tests and functional tests and all this stuff, that sounds complicated and we would just want AI to write stuff for us. You can now come back and say, no, we've got to have these tests because Tim said so as part of an automation pipeline for updates. So we've got our tests. We can run tests, and now whenever we do an update, we can have a staging site, and then we can run a set of tests. And if it comes back saying, yeah, test pass, we know that our new updates at least are working. We can then deploy them on the live site. We could even test against the live site and go, oh, now it's working. Now we know our pipeline, at least as far as we're concerned, all our tests are passing. And you will deploy this. It will be amazing. Then the client will say, this pixel is one thing out, and you didn't test for that. And I told you about this last month. It's fine. We'll write a test for it. And you'll keep doing this, and your test bed will get bigger and bigger, and it will become uncumbersome. But that's a different talk I don't need to worry about. So as far as I can tell you, just write a bunch of tests, test place, test place. You can do this and not do automatic updates. This will improve your development cycle. This will improve the speed you do updates. This will improve everything if you write tests because you're gaining confidence. You're gaining confidence in your code base so you can start to believe it. Because if I was to ask you, do you write bad code? The honest ones would still put their hands up. But the majority of you go, no! It's other people's code that's bad. Very true. But with tests, we can make the confident prediction that it should be doing the thing we think it should be doing. So now we have tests, and we update for development. We need to deploy it. This is the easy part. FTP, grab the files, dump it on the server. Done. No, there's a few shaking of heads. Yeah, obviously the flight test, update test. You have to automate deployment. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to just let it deploy automatically, but you have to not be the person dragging and dropping the thing. Do you know how your update process pipelines are failing? You're dragging and dropping things and your internet cuts out, or you go have a cup of tea, or you just get distracted by a client. Something happens. Your server's not configured properly, all of that stuff. If you automate your deployments, then you're going to be in a position where you can go, oh, at least we can blame the machine. automated deployment pipelines fail, but they normally have logs and they tell you these things. Humans, we don't have logs. Something coming behind me doesn't spout out lines telling me what's happening. Maybe it should, but well, I was looking at my watch at that point and thinking, yeah, maybe it does. Automate your deployments, even if you're manually triggering them. And then we monitor. You do monitor things. How many of you, after you've done an update, go and look at the log file to check for errors? Less hands are going up and there's more cringing at the realization that if you're not monitoring your log files, if you're not seeing how many extra errors are being generated, you can't look at the percentage difference and go, this is positive, this is negative. We don't know if we've suddenly got extra bits in there. So we want to be looking at our log files. We want to be looking at our telemetry. We want to be looking at our performance data. You collect all of this stuff, right? Yeah, but if we collect, most people do collect this stuff. Most people don't realize they're collecting this stuff, but you do have access to this information. What you don't do is look at it. Nor should you. If you've ever opened up a system log and go, that doesn't help. You're not going to be able to see trends and bits. So we need to use software to actually analyze this anyway. Well, why don't we just ask it to tell us the difference? Hey, have we got more errors before or after? If we're getting more after, something's wrong. Let's go back to before. That's as simple as it. Is our performance been degraded? Have we got we pick performance metrics and then we're running them? If they're degrading, this is bad. The update is bad. Roll back. And we can just roll back. So really, I'm asking you whether you're ready to let the robots have control. And I've been gently nudging you towards the concept that you are the problem. If you don't have confidence in automatic updates, you actually don't have confidence in yourselves, and you don't have confidence in your code. If you don't have confidence in your code, should you be running that code? Do you not think that's bad? Now, you can get away with it, but you're also stressed. You're all worrying about this. You shouldn't have to worry. Your life should be easy. This is a pain that you shouldn't have. You've probably spent maybe months of your lives updating things. Why? Think what you could have done. And if you're a boss in the room, maybe you run a company, and you're thinking you're paying a developer to spend hours a week or maybe days a month so they can go, their face drained because nobody wants to do updates. So humans are squishy. They die, they break. They're erratic. They don't do what they're told. They're incredibly busy. The biggest problem with letting a human do the update is the human won't do the update. They'll be busy. The email will come in. The client will say something. Something will happen. They'll get hit by a bus. They'll go on holiday. Dare them go on holiday. But it ends up in a place they just get bored and they don't want to do it. They found something else to do. So from your perspective, if you're a boss, that's the bad line. For the rest of you, the people who have to do the updates, life is too short. Go do something fun. Automate this away. Have confidence you've done it. And just turn on updates and you'll be fine. That genuinely is the end. So very quickly, my name is Tim Nash. I'm a security consultant specialized in WordPress. That QR code takes you somewhere. I don't know where. And if you're clicking random links on the internet through QR codes, come talk to me afterwards. I'll tell you why it's a really bad idea.